Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today we'll talk about constructor and destructor in our programming class. First of all, we'll talk about class, then we'll talk about constructor methods, and we have a destructor method, and then we will be talking about the objects. Now, class contains data and methods. So these are the two things that we must remember. The class will always have data and method. We call data as a state as well, and method we can say it's a behavior, or we can also say it's an operation. So if I talk about operation, basically I'm talking about method. If I talk about behavior, I'm talking about method. And data is the state. Now we have an example of the class. So this is class, name of the class. You can pick the name of the class by yourself, no problem. Then we have an opening bracket and closing bracket. So this is an empty class, but it is a valid class. Remember, C# is a case sensitive, means if it is a small letter command, you must type in small letters. If you type a capital one, then you will be in trouble. So compiler will complain about that. Similarly, if you created a customer with a capital C, it will always be with the capital C customer. If you created a customer with a small c, then you will always use a small c. So this is a case sensitive language. Whereas Visual Basic is not a case sensitive, so you can use small capital, no problem. But this C# is a case sensitive language. Now, in a class, we can have a constructor method. What is the purpose of constructor method? We can initialize the value. We can initialize the fields. We can initialize the data with a value. We never call the constructor method. It is called automatically by the program. This constructor never returns a value. You know, some functions or some methods, they return the value. But this constructor never returns the value. And it is having the same name as the class name. This is customer. Customer is the class name with a capital C. So this is a customer constructor with a capital C. It is not mandatory. If you don't want to create a constructor in your program, no problem. The compiler will create one constructor, the default constructor. This is the default constructor with no parameters, by itself automatically for all the data. And it will put the default value. For example, if it is integer, it will put the 0. If it is Boolean, it will put false as a default. If it is a string, it will put nothing, you know, the quotation open and quotation close, like that. You can overload the constructor. For example, if you create another copy of the constructor like we have done here, remember the signature must be different because the name is same as class name. So signature must be different from the signature here. So this is empty here, so there is no signature, but we are having two parameters here. So this signature is different. That is why we say this constructor, we are overloading this method in the class. So we are overloading with the same name but different parameters, different signatures. So we have like two parameters here. So this is the example of a constructor. Now we do have a destructor. The purpose of destructor is to clear the memory. It has the same name as a class name, but it has a madda sign. This is a tilde sign. Is a key left to the key number 1. So, and then bracket open, bracket close. So no parameters inside, nothing inside here. So this is our destructor. So we can call it a garbage collector as well. When you close the program, any object you created, this destructor will clear all the memory from those objects. This is the command that we can use to create the object. So this is my class, name of the object, and new is the one that will create the object of this customer class. And this is my, by the way, this is my constructor. So it will go create the new object of this class, and it will use this constructor to initialize the values. So let's go to the program and see how we can. So let's start the cmd command. Let me resize it, and now we can go to the D drive, D:/enter, and you remember we have created the batch file a.bat, and I can press enter. So it will set the path. You see here we have the path, and it changed the directory to the C#. You see here we are inside. Now we need to create a program. So I have a command for notepad, so I can use a notepad. Maybe I can say b.cs. CS stand for C#. So all the C# program will have an extension of .cs. Create a new file. Yes, I want to create a new file. Let me make it a little bit. Now what I can do is I can use my I can say class customer, and then I can put a bracket here. By the way, I can put my bracket here as well, no problem. And then I can put my bracket at the end. So this is my class constructor. This is my class customer. Now I can, since I want to execute this class, I must have to have a main method. So I can say public static main method. So I can have a bracket here, and then I can have a bracket here. So this is my class, and this is my public static main method. Let me save it and let me compile. You know, when we'll compile, you will see a small error. So C# compiler space b.cs, and you know, it says that you are having a problem in the main method. So main method must have a return type. So he's expecting that the method which we are having, it must have a return type. So if we don't have a return type, then we have to say void, public static void main. And this method has no return type. Void mean no return type. So let me save it and compile it, and we will see. Maybe I can make it a little bit high to make it more clear. So you see, we compile and there is no compilation error. So this compile is error free. By the way, if I want to run this program, you know, when I compile, you can see that I got a b.exe file. So I can say b. I don't have to say .exe because it will pick the .exe file. It did nothing because we have nothing inside. So it went inside and it found nothing, so it did nothing. So, but it shows that our program compiled successfully. Now what we need to do is, I want to have a data for this class. So for example, I have a data like first name, and first name is a string. So the type of my data is a string, and this is my first name. And the statement must end with semicolon. Then I have another last name, and that is also a string. So I can say this is last name and string, and it doesn't have any value, by the way. Okay. Now, so this class has two data. So let's go to the main program, and I say, okay, you know, I want to have object of this class. So if I want to use these data name, I must create the object of the class. Then I can use these first name and the last name. I can use the data. So have a customer, remember C capital, because it's a case sensitive. Customer C is my object name is equal to new. You must have to write new if you want to create an object. And then you say customer, and this customer is the constructor. We didn't write any constructor here, but it's not mandatory. The computer will always create a default constructor if you did not create it here when you compile the program. So this is my compile. So I did the object. Now so this all class, in this class we have only two datas. All these two datas are available in this C object now. How? Let's access these ones. So I can say C dot first name is equal to, I can say Tariq, semicolon, and then I can say C dot last name is equal to Aziz, semicolon. So that is how I can access the first name and the last name in this object. Let me print this one. We have a system.console.write and line L capital. This is important. C dot first name, semicolon. So let me increase the size of this one so we can see in one line. And now I can copy paste and I can say this is my last, C dot last name. So let me compile. So what it will do, it will create the object. This object C will have only these two data, and we are accessing with the help of C dot first name, and the name will go here and the Aziz will go here, and then we'll be printing the value from the C object. So let's compile it. MashaAllah, no error. I can execute, and you see that. So it printed the first name from the C object. It printed the last name from the C object, like that. So this was the way that we can give the value in our program. But now I want to change this one. I want that this value should be given by the constructor, not here. So let's change the program, and I say here, I'll say public, and let me write the customer. This is my constructor, default constructor. In the default constructor, I say, okay, I want to give this. By the way, when I am in the class, I will not use this C because C is not available here. C object is in this part. Okay, so in this class, first name is here. So first name, I can use the first name without any problem. So first name is equal to Tariq, last name is equal to Aziz, and this is my constructor. So now when I will create this part, it will go to this constructor and it will give the values to the first name and this value to the last name. So let's save it, compile it, and run it. And you see that? So when it created, it went up there, it changed, it moved the values, and then it printed here. Nice. Now I don't want to be printing here in this one. I want a print method. So let's create another method. I say public print name, and then I say close this one, and in this one I'm gonna say like this. So all my system commands are available in this method. By the way, in this we don't have to say C dot because this class can access this first name and the last name directly without the help of object. So so now what I can do is I can say, because when I create the object, this object contains now this print method, this constructor, and this method, all the data here. So I can say C dot print name, this one. So it will create the object, it will get the value from this constructor, and then it will print, and then it will be printing here. So let's save it and compile it. And oops, so it has a problem. method must have a return type. Oh, this method is not returning anything, so I must say it is a void. It will not return anything. So let's compile it. There you go. I can run it, and you see that. So it is running. So it is creating the object C. So C object will have these two values, this data and all these constructors and the methods. And we can use, with the help of C object, we can use any method. So this is how we can do that. Now let's overload the constructor. Overloading mean, so for example, if I say the first name has nothing and the last name has nothing, maybe I can say no first name, because he didn't enter anything, no last name. But what I can do is I can have a constructor here, public customer. In this one, I want to pass first name and the last name. So I need to pass two string, and this is my first name, and then I have another string, this is my last name. And now I can say that so in this one I can say my first name is equal to F, and then my last name is equal to L. So this F will go to the first name, and by the way, this first name, this L will go to the last name, and this is this last name. So let's go and change the customer. So when I will create the object, I'll pass the values. I'll pass the values like Tariq, comma, Aziz. So now this time when it will see the two values, it will not go to this part. No, it will go to this part, because Tariq will go to F and Aziz will go to L. And then it will be passing the value of F to the first name and L to the Tariq, to the last name. And then I can print the same way. So I can go back. So this way we are overloading the customer. We are overloading this, this is the constructor method. So we are overloading this constructor method with the help of these two parameters. So let's go and compile and B, and you see that Tariq Aziz. So this Tariq goes to this one and it moves Tariq, and that's why we are printing Tariq Aziz. So for example, I remove this one. Now let's see, I saved it, and now I'm compiling, and I'm going back again B. This time it says no first name, no last name. You see here, I did not pass on this one anything, so it jumps directly to this part and it moves the value no first name, no last name, and so these two value has the two data has the values, and in this system, in the print name, it printed the same thing. So that's how we overloaded the customer, and we are using different constructor with the help of by passing values, or we don't want to pass the value, so it will be using different constructors like that. So this is the method. We already talked about that method. So in the class, we have a class name, we have a data, and then we have the constructor methods and the normal method. Okay, and we do have a destructor method as well. When you create the object of a class, it will have the data and the method, no constructors, because constructor is used to, we cannot call the constructor. It will be used to initialize the value. That's it. So at the time of creation of object, it will be utilized. Later on, we can call them. We can call these functions, not the constructor. So this is another example for you guys. You have to create the bank account, same as customer account, like a customer class. So this is a bank account class. You have a balance. We have like first name here. So similarly, you have a balance here. We have a get balance, deposit, withdraw. Here we have three functions. Here we are having like one function only. Similar to this function, you have to create like these three functions. Two constructors, one without and one with parameters. So we have two customers like this one you have to create for the bank class. And then when you create the bank account object, like we are creating the customer object. Similarly, you have to create the bank account object. At that time, you'll be passing like 25 deposit. So at that time, you'll be passing here $25 deposit inside. Later on, you can deposit 700. Later on, you can, like this, you can use the deposit method and you can deposit 700. Then you have to withdraw. So use the withdraw method to withdraw this one. Then display the balance and display insufficient fund if you don't have the sufficient fund. So this is the example that you have to do by yourself. It is exactly like the customer example. Okay, 95%, 96% same. That's it for today. Kafara majlis. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.